Life and death, it's all a dance. Talking love and giving chance. Laughs and tears, we're here to share. Join us now, we're always there.
Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that today's episode covers sexual assault. This is a deeply sensitive topic, and we encourage you to listen in a way that prioritizes your well-being. If you need to step away, take a break, or seek support, please do so. Resources for survivors will be shared in the information for this episode.
Hello, Noelle.
Hello, Jenna. How are you today?
I'm okay. You sound a little snuffly there.
I'm a little snuffly. I sure am.
Remember yesterday when I told you to take the vitamin C and the zinc? Have you done this?
Okay, so first of all, that was today when you told me that.
This day has felt very long.
Yeah, and it felt like a good idea, but then I thought to myself, you know what, self? I don't know that this is actually going to make a difference if we just do this one day.
You're
It's
not
sort
going to
of
do it one day. You're going to do it until you feel better. And then ideally, it would be great if you would just do it every day.
right.
But I understand that you will not. So
What's funny is I was looking for medicine to take last night and I came across some vitamins and I was like, well, I don't need those. I need NyQuil. Here in the United Kingdom, they have something called Lemsip, and it is basically like you drink it hot and you like let it dissolve. I suppose it's somewhat like Alka-Seltzer, which my dad swore
okay.
by the way.
I mean, it is good stuff. And I just found it not too
mhm.
long ago, and that stuff works.
Yeah, well, this stuff it does. It's not bad, like in terms of how it works, but it tastes terrible. I felt like I was drinking soap earlier.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But yeah, so
I'm
I'm a little under the weather, but that's okay. Why don't we talk about who we are going to have on today, because this is a very important episode.
So today, that was very professional. I just sounded very professional there.
Oh, I thought you meant me.
Today we have Diane on. She is a sexual assault survivor and is now a counselor. And we kind of became friends a few years ago and just recently discussed both of our trauma histories together. So, and that's kind of something I do want to bring up here again, is just that, like, you can know somebody for a really long time and that doesn't mean they haven't been through something. So she's willing to come on here and talk with us. And I really, really appreciate that.
So do I. This will be a very good conversation, and I will hopefully not offend either of you with any of my questions. So
You will not.
Oh, you guys have like mics. This is like official. Can you
well,
wait? Can you hear me? Okay.
Oh, you're
you're
fine.
perfect.
It's just
Gosh, shut your blinds. Awful.
they are shut. It's so bad. So hi, how are you?
I'm okay. It's been a long Monday already. I've been pretty busy, so I'm just here. I'm like floating through.
Floating through. As we spoke about earlier in March, we are going to have some episodes with some people on to discuss sexual assault and give information about it in a bunch of different capacities. And today we have an amazing person to talk with us. She is not only a survivor, but also a counselor, which is just phenomenal for this episode. So Noelle, we you and I kind of discussed how we wanted to format this today. And I was thinking we could just sort of do an open conversation. And if you had any questions, that might be a good place to start or just kind of go through, because as you had mentioned before, this isn't something that you have gone through, but you know many people that have. So if there's any questions that you ever had that you didn't feel comfortable asking, we could talk about that as well. So let's begin. Basically, we wanted to talk about relationships. So are you able to give us a bit of a description, not of the event that happened, but just kind of where you're at in the process of moving forward with it?
Moving forward, that's strong. Because I don't. I've realized recently, when starting to work on this trauma, that I had thought that I moved forward years and years ago, but really all I did was push and suppress and pretend like nothing happened and that I don't have any trauma in my life and that I am one who is extremely strong, and trauma looks different for everybody. And I was not affected in the same way that others were probably affected. And so what I did was just minimize the situation and ignore it. And so it wasn't until recently that I had spoke to somebody about it that I realized, wow, like this has really impacted me in so many different areas of my life. I'm in the process still of like trying, like just discovering, like figuring out that, oh, that's why I react this way to things, or, you know what I mean? And this is why I don't want to get close to so and so, or whatever it may be, you know, the self esteem issues, the trust issues, like the lack of confidence, the avoiding conflict, like all of these things. I think it just has taken so much time for me to slowly start to realize it. So I'm just in the process of like moving forward. I've ignored it for so many years.
Which says a lot, and I get that, and I know just in general, people often say, "If you had this happen years ago, why didn't you talk about it then?" Or, "Now they're coming forward and talking about this. If it was really bad, why wouldn't they say something before?" And the reality is you don't because you kind of repress it, just like you said. I mean, there's things that many people have told me where they just start remembering things because something happens. So it may be something that you never thought about or kind of blocked out of your mind, and then hear a conversation and it's like it just hits you like, "Wait, this happened," and it kind of starts to come back for you. Is that something that you experience?
100%. Yeah. Especially now. And like just the fact too that, you know, the minimizing it, like also come along with, I think there's so much shame. And for a while for me, like shame and guilt and like blaming myself. Well, maybe if I hadn't been in this
Right,
situation, this wouldn't have happened. Or,
right.
you know, maybe this was my fault. And in doing all of those things, it was like, I didn't want to admit, you know, that something had happened to me, and that, you know, I think honestly, I spent so much time blaming myself that that's part of the reason too why I never worked on anything.
Mhm.
I didn't want to dig deep. Plus, trauma works hard. I mean, let's just be honest. It's hard.
Yes, it is.
Um, and I think it's just something that that's part of it. Like I didn't want to dig deep on it, just out of fear that it was gonna, you know, really kind of make me stagnant in life, make me regress, you know. But really, I've found so far that is not true. That's not the case, and it's really weird too when talking about it. Like right now, I'm okay in the moment. I'm talking about it. I'm always like, well, maybe it'll be good for me to talk about it, and it's crazy because you don't even realize like how it's going to affect you. For me, anyway, because I can only expect like speak from my experience, because trauma looks different for everybody. But for me, like it might not hit me till a day or two later, and I'm like, oh gosh, like this was hard. Like I don't know if I should have opened this box, you know. Um, I don't know. It's been tough. It's been tough, really.
Um, with the guilt and the shame and that kind of stuff going along with that, did you feel like at a point, even if you brought it up to somebody, it would be disregarded?
100%. Or like I'd be afraid that they would compare it to somebody else they knew. Or oh, well, like you're well, this person really like was attacked. Like did you? I mean, like what were you doing? Like I just didn't want to face those questions for people that aren't educated or don't know how to, you know what I mean, navigate speaking about it to somebody. It can be very damaging. If you're talking to the wrong person about it. And a lot of times I think people just don't know. Not always do I think people mean to be like harmful in any way, but um, I don't know.
I was also thinking and had mentioned in the previous episode that I think a lot of people aren't capable of truly understanding that, whether it's they haven't lived through the experience or, you know, some people just can't even allow themselves to go there. And I think that has taken me a long time to be able to accept that when someone responds in a way that I didn't need or I didn't want, um, before it would send me on like a major tear. But now it's more of me just kind of stepping back and say, this isn't a person I can talk with, and not blaming them. It's not something where I get mad at them. It's more of just like, this just isn't, they're just not capable of talking about this.
Right, right. And I haven't even, like, for me personally, I think there's only probably a few people that even know about my experience that I've, you know what I mean, have opened up, because that's part of it. It's, I have trouble trusting. I don't want to open up to people, really, about anything, not just about this, about anything. But I find, though, like, connecting the dots, that it's all related to trauma.
Well, before I
So
told the entire US and UK and anybody else that listens, I was the exact same. There was very few people, probably a little more than what you're saying, but very few people that I talked to. Mine came more from a place of I didn't want to upset people. Like I didn't want them to get upset by me telling them this. Like that was more of my issue, not so much it's going to upset me, but it's just I didn't want people to have to deal with that and feel uncomfortable or sad or whatever comes with it. Um,
yeah, not knowing how to navigate the
right,
conversation, like stuttering
right.
through it,
Yep.
you know.
So as somebody like that obviously very fortunately has not been in this situation, what is the best response? Is it just listening and being empathetic? Is there anything in particular that's like a definite no-no that you should never say? Is there anything that you recognize now that you really needed at the time that wasn't there for you, or that in your head would have helped you if somebody would have said it or done a certain thing to support you? Like, is there anything that you can identify now looking back on it?
I think the first, well, for me, I didn't tell anybody. So, you know, I think that was maybe my first mistake, just being honest, because I think had I reached out and told somebody about it right afterward, maybe I would have received the correct amount of support that I need to navigate, like, the situation moving forward. Like, instead, I just kept it to myself. And that I would not recommend doing that, but that's just me, like, and how it affected me. But I think, so it's hard for me to answer that, since I kept it to myself and didn't really tell anybody, and nobody ever had to navigate that conversation with me because nobody knew.
Right.
Which I imagine is not uncommon.
Definitely not.
I'll tell you where I have a difficult time is conversations in groups when people are talking about maybe a current event or talking about a movie or making fun of something that kind of downplays what happened or suggests that women are to blame. And you're in a situation where you really don't feel comfortable saying something and you kind of go back to that freeze and you're just kind of sitting there and listening when you really just want to be like, shut the hell up or pull up and move, which isn't always possible. For me, it's more of like a freeze where I'm like, I want to get up. I want to walk away from this situation, but I just don't want to bring attention to myself or I don't want to speak up, whatever it is. That's difficult for me.
Is there any way that someone that hasn't been through it, like myself or anybody else listening, like that they can sort of be your voice in those situations? Like, is there something that you like, what would you like to say to people in that scenario that would resonate with them? Because that's the thing, right? Like, you can say it, but you want the message to get across. Like, you want that person to actually listen to what you're saying and take it in and like actually make an impact instead of just kind of getting into like an argument, which of course right now, no matter where you go, everything's polarized, right? So you can be in a conversation and people aren't always going to agree. And is that a way that somebody can support you? Like, would you see that as if somebody's, you know, voice their opinion, whether or not they've been in that situation themselves? Like, is that one way that you feel like people can support those of you who have been through it? And what is the best thing to say in those group settings that would get the message across without being inconsiderate or insensitive to all parties? Does that make sense?
It does. I think for me, I think, you know, in those situations, like Jenna was saying, where you kind of just freeze, like, you know, and you don't, like, for me, that's whenever I'm just like, well, this has happened to me, and, like, I don't like this and how this is being talked about. That's whenever I just deep breathe and, like, keep move around and like just make myself aware of like because it'll put me in a
Right.
panic attack.
Yeah.
Now I would love to say, man, like I think maybe we should kind of watch like how we talk about this, you know what I mean? Because, this is extremely traumatic for people. And if you don't understand it, sometimes it's better to just either ask and inquire or like don't comment at all. Because I think a lot of times people are afraid to ask questions, but sometimes that's less harmful than just
Agree.
making comments that they shouldn't
Totally
be
agree.
making.
I
Hmm.
mean, for in a situation where it would be the two of us and something would happen, I'd feel very comfortable sticking up for her in that situation and
Yeah.
being her voice. It's different when it's yourself. It's well, at least for me, and it sounds like for you as well, where it's like it's not the speak up and go off and yell. It's more of like the, okay, I need to just focus on my breathing and get inside myself kind of thing. Which you asked about other people. I have like I kind of feel 2 ways about that. One part of me is like, that would be great if someone would just do that, but another part of me feels like I shouldn't have to ask somebody to. Like, if somebody's in a
Fair.
situation with me that knows I don't know. Maybe I'm expecting too much, but I think that's how I am, okay? So I'm basically just saying this because in situations where I'm with people that someone says something that I know would be upsetting to somebody, I'm the first one to speak up or help the person get out of the situation. So I do think I'm expecting maybe too much. So it would be nice to have somebody do that, but I don't know that I would ever appoint somebody to that. I feel like that to me is kind of defeats the purpose of somebody caring and wanting to be there for you when you have to say, "That person just said this. I am now upset," you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's an actually, like, a fantastic suggestion. I think what you said could be very beneficial to many people. That is just specifically how I am because 'cause I'm used to taking care of myself. So that's hard for me in that situation. So, yeah, I mean, I think that'd be beneficial for a lot of people, though, assigning someone or asking
But that
somebody.
and that's also something that, like, as somebody that, again, hasn't been in that situation, like, in having these conversations, hopefully the takeaway is if I'm standing in a group of people, whether I know that somebody's been in that situation or not, I can say, like, "Well, you don't know who all here might have been impacted by that." And I think just, again, like, having these conversations where it's sort of like making it so that it is something that you don't want to offend somebody, so a lot of times you will just completely avoid the subject. It also is something that I think is really important because I want to know how to be supportive to somebody, and I recognize that everyone's going to, receive that differently, and not everyone's going to feel comfortable with the same set of circumstances or the same type of support. But I think just thank you both for, like, having this conversation and being honest about it because I would rather you say, like, "Oh yeah, don't do that." Like, that's gonna make you look like a jackass, you know what I mean? Don't be that guy. But, yeah, is there anything else that you can think of that
Do you like when someone asks questions to me, that's like to me is that is like the most authentic way of caring about me or anyone else is by asking a question and simply saying, "What can I do for you?" or "What do you need?" And just going there. And even if my response or your response is, "I don't want to talk about it," for me at least, it will stay with me for a very long time that you asked and that you want to be there with me, and you will then become a support person for me, knowing that you care. What do you think?
I agree 100%. And it's just like sometimes just like with that stuff, keep it simple. Like, you know, kind of sometimes all you really need to do is listen. And at the end of the day, while listening, just putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, which is why those group conversations and when things like that come up that could be harmful or hurtful, sometimes I just get super frustrated because I just assume that everybody is like extremely empathetic and like able to in the moment put themselves in somebody else's shoes and just be super aware and that's not the reality.
Unfortunately,
Like
it is
they're
not.
not. So for me, like I think sometimes just listening and then just kind of saying, like Jenna said, what do you need? Like how can I be there for you? Sometimes just asking them what they need, yeah, is perfect.
Agreed.
So it is interesting that it seems like both of you went down a path of helping people, right? Like you, Jenna, in coaching, and in counseling. How much, I know Jenna's answer because she said it. But how much did your experience impact your decision to go into that field? And how much has it helped you in working with clients or patients?
I think I've always just generally been somebody who wants to help others, even before this. But I think it has helped me, though, going through like my own traumas. It's helped me to be more aware in a counseling setting in general. I'm more comfortable talking about it with somebody else than I am handling it myself.
Yeah,
But I'm
always.
more comfortable, you know what I mean? Like I feel like I have more tools,
Yeah.
even though like I suck at applying them in my own
Correct.
life. Yeah, I mean, I'm, able to kind of, I don't know, just navigate the situation easier. But yeah, I think it's just, I don't know. It's been a wild ride. Um, the trauma at work for me has been a wild ride, and opening the door has been tough. I did not realize how much my self-esteem was affected and how much affects like my day-to-day relationships. I have a hard time trusting women for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things that I've been able to like connect the dots. It's almost like, opening up to other people. I don't, for some reason, it's the women that I don't trust. These are all things that, again, that I'm finding out through work, but I I gotta say, like, it has been freeing to start talking about it, even though it can be hard. Like, I think the last time I talked about it, I had told Jenna, I was fine in the moment. And then the next day I woke up, I was like, I don't feel well. And then the day after that, I was like, I am like reeling. I'm really struggling. But then I had other times where I had spoke about it and been okay. You know what I mean? And so it's just, you just never know how it's going to hit you. And so it creates anxiety. Like I had so much anxiety before, doing this with you ladies, because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to feel tomorrow. How am I going to feel in the moment?
The good thing is
So,
you'll be with me
uh,
tomorrow, so I will be there
yeah.
with you.
Right.
May or may not have done that on purpose. I think it's literally the same answer, is just I do feel like I can relate a lot of my older teens that I've worked with that have gone through situations. I definitely feel like I can relate to them in some ways on a different level. And I feel like I've seen people maybe pry a lot into the situation, needing details and needing all these things. And what I've kind of learned is the details are not the important part. It's the person telling the detail. Like it's that person. It's not the details.
Yeah.
It's what can I do for you moving forward? And I think that's why I did go into coaching. A lot of the reason why was to move forward. I got coached myself. And I think that's when it hit me like, this is what I want to do. Because to be stuck in that moment and in your past for so long is so difficult because it truly does consume you and come up in every single aspect of your life, which seems crazy to even say that, but it just does. Just like she said, with the trust and relationships and I don't know. I find that I'm very different way of thinking than a lot of people. But I agree with you. It's the same for me. Like I have always wanted to work with people. That has always been my path, but I think as I got older and was able to go to counseling and not talk about the situation and avoid it and just bring up everything else that was going on or, drop hints and hope that people pick up on things, but they don't, which is fine. That's kind of why it pushed me into the coaching aspect of it, just kind of meeting people where they're at and trying to move them forward, rather than feeling stuck in the moment. But I do feel like counseling and coaching go hand in hand with a situation like this. It can be important to address what occurred, and it's also important to begin to live again and move forward.
Have there been any times where working with a client has been like triggering to you in like their stories relating to yours, or like you said that you go home and a couple days later you realize like, oh, like I don't feel well about this, or I don't feel right, where your body kind of reacts even if you didn't realize that it was something that was impacting you in the moment.
Oddly enough, for me,
Same.
no. It's only when I'm talking about my own experience that I am triggered in that way. It's almost like if somebody is talking about their experience, I go into a full on like
Yep,
helping, listening. You know what I mean? It's not the same for me. Somebody else may have a different experience, but for me, it has not been that way. Like I work in the drug and alcohol field now,
Okay.
and you wouldn't believe how many people, like when you kind of get through the questions of trauma and abuse, the link, there between the two. And it's so then for me, it's just easy to kind of navigate when somebody wants to open up about it. I don't ever ask any details. I keep it, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, for me, it helps to have the experience. It's an experience, I guess, it's something that I wish I would have never happened to me, obviously, but I am grateful that I'm able to help others navigate.
I agree with all of that. Exactly the same. I go into a completely different mode whenever, um, it's about somebody else. It's just I don't even put the 2 together. I think if anything else, and like you just said, if anything, it helps to realize what I don't wanna say or how I don't
Yeah.
wanna approach something more so than how I want to. I kinda let the person lead that dialogue in the direction they wanna go in.
Right, I say less. It's like in those situations, less is
Yep,
more. And if people choose, I let people choose how much they want to open up. I don't pry, I don't probe. I just let it happen organically. And if somebody wants to open up fully to me, great. If not,
right,
great.
right. I feel the exact same way. The other part of that I kept forgetting, the other part, that I've kind of experienced is in situations, with relationships, with friends, with family, whatever the case is, um, I have often felt that I have to justify myself for feeling certain ways, and that's very difficult to do when people don't really know what you've gone through, so you're trying to do it in a way that doesn't disclose what you don't want them to know, but trying to make them or help them understand why you make choices that you do. I've had a really difficult time with that because I just feel like I'm constantly having to explain myself. And I'm never explaining myself the way I truly want to because I'm not talking about the event that has shaped me and my thinking the most. Um, and that's hard. That's hard not being able to bring that into conversation if you're not ready to do it yet. And just kind of sitting back while people make their suggestions as to what you need to change or what is really wrong, and that's not the reality.
Yeah, and you're like, you don't
Right,
even get it. You don't even know. You don't
right.
even, and you don't want to say for whatever reason. And it is. It's hard to then try to be like, well, I don't wanna do like, people just won't ever just
No, they do not. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
it's just like they can't just accept yes or no or, "No, that makes me uncomfortable." It has to they can't just be like, "Oh, okay, that's fine, I get it." It's like a lot not all
But
people, but it seems like a lot of times it's like, "Well, why?" And sometimes it's like, I don't wanna do the toddler
right,
whys.
right,
You
yes,
know what I mean? Like,
yes,
I don't want to, and it's very difficult. And those are the situations where I
yes, and
freeze. That's whenever I'm
I
like,
freeze, but then I over-explain, and I over-explain in a way that, like, has nothing to do with anything. I'm just trying to I don't wanna I'm trying to help myself feel like I'm not a bad person in that situation. Because that's often how I feel, like, I'm making a decision, I know I am, but no one else does, so I'm the bad person in this. So, you're seeing me as somebody who's doing something you don't agree with. I see it as I have to do it this way. Um, it's just very difficult when you can't open up and tell people why certain things happen.
after the fact, you say, well, man, like I wish I would have
Yes.
said that. Then I
Yes.
hate myself for not
Yes.
saying something, for not being more assertive, and for being so avoidant. I'm like, wow, I could have said like XYZ.
When other people are questioning me, and making me feel wrong in situations, and I can't explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, that pushes me to a, down say it, downward spiral, there we go.
Yeah, same, exact same
Yeah.
experience.
Have there been any relationships in your life that in the beginning you maybe hadn't shared that with that person and then opened up to them about it? And did the dynamic change when you did?
No, like, yes, I have opened up to, like I said, I only have opened up to like a few people about it, and I was very selective for that reason because I didn't want the dynamic to change. And
Yeah.
again, I shouldn't feel that way. Like I should be able to share my experience with any old buddy and not have people view me differently. And if they do, I shouldn't care because that's on them, right? Like
Yeah.
that's their stuff. But that is, it's hard. Like I can say this, like this is, it shouldn't matter or whatever, but there's some, I can't explain it, but there's just something in me that holds back because I don't want things to change. I don't want people to view me as a victim or treat me any differently. And, or shun me, or, make me feel like I should be embarrassed. I don't want to feel those feelings. So that's where I'm like, no, I'll just avoid the conversation completely to avoid having to deal with that.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten some responses where it's kind of like, "Get over it," or, "What was I wearing? What were you doing?" Like, that kind of stuff. Um, yes, yes, and it happens with a lot of people, and people that you sometimes think, aren't going to be those people, and they're gonna be the people that are gonna support you the most, the question, and that's hard. So I can understand what you're saying, to put yourself in that vulnerable position that someone could react that way. That's hard because honestly, at that point, then I start questioning myself again.
Exactly. That's what I avoid because I'm trying to do my own work. I'm trying to take, like, I got my own pace that I'm working on. Everybody has
Right.
their own pace, right? I don't want to go backwards, and I think it's important to like recognize your triggers, recognize like who you want in your life and why, and who you only share certain things with and why. And that's kind of why for me, like I have acquaintances and I have people that I'm super duper close with, and I have besties, and you know what I mean. And there's a reason for that. So I think just keeping that in the front of your mind, because there's a reason why you have certain people close to you, and why you've picked those as your people, right? And those are the people I choose to, for now, that's who I choose to open up, to about certain things. So
And it is crazy because it's not always the people that you've known the longest or have
exactly.
whatever kind of relation. Like I'm very choosy, like you said, on who I'm going to open myself up to. Also not wanting to put myself in the position of feeling crappy about myself. So, but like you and I haven't known each other for very, very long, but you're one of those people that I have always felt comfortable opening up to and talking to. So it's not necessarily it's people always come into your life for a reason, and I feel like one of the reasons for us was to support each other in this.
Oh, I agree 100%. Like Jenna's one of the only people that I've opened up to about it. I felt completely comfortable. I did not even really know her entire experience before opening up to her,
Oh,
but there's
wow.
just something about her that I felt, you know what I mean, that it was okay for me to share. And that's awesome. And even to just have one person like that, it's like,
Okay.
I don't know, it's just like I'm so
So am
grateful.
I.
Because it's hard to find those people. It is. I don't know. It's just they're all defense mechanisms that I put up. Like I don't want to talk about certain things because what if it creates conflict, and I don't want it.
Whereas I'm the opposite. I am like, I won't even allow it to get to conflict. So I address it like 5 steps ahead before it can even get to that point where I'm like, I'm going to say positive things and make this a smooth situation rather than it maybe potentially getting to one where I'm uncomfortable in.
I don't know. Just I was just reflecting on it the other day, and just the fact, I think for me, that I spent so many years hating myself, like so many years hating myself for this, and hating like the person that I was, and questioning myself, questioning my sanity, questioning whether I was worthy, like the lack of self love, all of that. I wish that I would have crossed paths with somebody sooner, that I could, kind of share my experience with her. I wish I wasn't so afraid. I guess I wish I wish I wasn't so afraid, to talk, to tell somebody about it, and to get help sooner, because I guess it's been a slow suffering, like over the years. And I guess my thing would be, if anybody listens to this, just to find your person, to try to talk about it if you can, because like it's just good to not feel
Right.
alone, because for me, like, had I handled this sooner, I think my life maybe even would have went in different directions.
It does. It really does change who you are as a person. Um, it does. And I can say I've looked back at situations in my past and I'm like, I'm not that person. Like, I would not do that. Why was I doing that? Whatever I was doing at the time. Like, why was I acting that way? That is not something I would do. Like, I know who I am. I know what I want for people and the kind of person I am, and that was not that person. And then it's like, okay, this does. It affects how you see things and you see yourself and you do things that you otherwise would not have most likely not have done. I'm just saying like some choices with relationships. It definitely changes the way you think.
100%. Yeah, for me, like too, I've put myself in the same situation multiple times. I experienced something traumatic, and then I put myself
Yes.
in the same situations again and again. It's
Yep.
like, and it's almost like insanity, like doing the same thing over and over. What did I think that something I was going to get a different result? I don't know, but had I maybe had some help or some guidance, um, I don't know. I think I would have saved myself a lot of pain, honestly.
Well, we're gonna work on that now. We're gonna move forward. You're making lots of progress. I'm so happy and proud of you for coming on to do this because I know this was incredibly difficult. I hope it was helpful for you more than it was painful. But I loved hearing what you had to say. It's actually, I want to say I'm amazed and shocked, but I'm not at all how absolutely similar all 2 situations were. How we not the situations, but how we responded, how we've lived, how we've talked to people, like, all of that seems parallel, parallel, and, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you too, Noelle, for being here to kind of support both of us through this.
Thanks for allowing me to ask dumb
Not
questions.
No, not done. Not done. I appreciate
yes.
them.
But yeah, no, it's I mean, I obviously it I hate that people have gone through this, and so for me, I think like Jenna, you pointed out the last time that we talked, just that sometimes again you don't need like there's nothing you can do to fix it. You just need to be there to listen, and I think it is a sort of a natural response to want to fix something and to want to be able to like do something. And I think there is something to be said for just sort of like walking with somebody through it or just being there to listen or be whatever support they need. And Jenna, I've said this before, but you've always sort of figured out how to do that with me anyway. Like I know there were times when I still lived in Pittsburgh where you would be like, "Hey, like I know it's a hard day, so I'm just going to stop by and drop this off or we'll just go and get coffee," and sort of like planning your walk tomorrow. You kind of know how to show up. Um and I hope that I can be the same for you as you have been for me and many
You
others.
absolutely are. But you are right in
Mm.
that. You are. I think I project how I would love for people to be with me, And I'm
Yeah.
not doing it on intentionally. Like, I know how I want everyone to be, and that is that personality. Like, I am there for you. I will help you. I can let me drop this and I'm coming over. Or if I know someone's off, I want to do everything I can to help them. I, for a very long time, lived my life assuming everyone was like that. And unfortunately, not everyone is, but I'm going to continue doing it. And yeah, there have been a few people along the way that have been that for me, and I appreciate that a lot. Are we doing a glimmer?
We have to.
Okay, well, I was waiting for you to say it. You go first.
Okay. My glimmer, which is the opposite of a trigger, is that we now have a dining room table in our flat, which really makes a difference. We've been eating off the couch, not off the couch, but like we've been sitting on the couch for a very long time. And tonight we sat down for dinner and we like ate like dignified adult human beings.
Oh,
And I want that for obviously like when the baby comes, I want to make sure that like we have that routine of like sitting at the table because it is so easy to not,
oh, absolutely.
you know?
I love
You know what I'm
that.
saying?
I love that.
Thought it was a good one as well.
Yes. Do you know what your glimmer is? Yeah.
Me? I was not. I know about the
I
glimmer.
know,
Dude,
see?
I was
This
so
is me too. I can't. It's like I can't pre-think about it.
I didn't write
I'm
down the
gonna go.
glimmer.
I know which glimmer. This is like staring me in the face.
Go on.
Is the sun. So I am so incredibly grateful that the sun is out. I don't even care that it's freezing and sunny at the same time. It has completely changed my mood, and I'm hoping that it is helping everybody change their moods and there's more smiling and happiness going on. But that is my glimmer, is the sun, which also glimmers.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Uh-huh. Like that.
Yikes.
Okay. Glimmer. Does it have to be something that happened? No, I have something. Okay. All right. I do. I have something. Okay. So I was having kind of a crap morning. Okay. We don't have to get into why, but crap morning. Okay. I'm like, I have to go somewhere. So I go out, start my car, and I'm like, self-pity, like, man, this morning's awful, like, it's how, you know what I mean, how can it probably just gonna get worse, and I'm like super grump mode, and so I go out, I'm probably outside for like 30 seconds and come back in, and both of my dogs are so excited to see me, like I had been gone for 8-9 hours, and it was just what I needed in that moment. So I was like, oh God, like
I love
blood
it.
pressure
Yep.
dropped. You know what I mean? Like it was just and it's so crazy. They always act like they haven't seen me for. I'm like, I was just here, but I need this
Yes.
today.
And they aren't gonna speak and say anything to make that change. They're just gonna love you.
The best.
It's the best.
Thank you both so much for coming on and having this conversation with me. It has been very eye-opening, and I know that it is not an easy conversation for either of you to have. So thank you very much.
If you or someone you know has experienced a sexual violence, RAINN.org is a nationwide 24/7 support. You can also reach out to Jenna confidentially at jennamarielifecoach@gmail.com. GENNAMARIELIFECOACH@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Life and Death Podcast. Please be sure to leave us a review and comment to let us know what you thought of the episode. And don't forget to follow us so you never miss an update. You can email us at lifeanddeathpodcast@gmail.com. You'll find Jenna on Instagram under the handle Jenna Marie Life Coaching, and I, Noelle, can be found at Noelle E. Carlin.
Living death through ups and downs, finding smiles beyond the frowns. Stay with us, we'll light the way. See you next time, bright and gay.